Hey, what's going on? I'm streaming for the first time ever, so I'm not sure how this all works. Leave a comment if you can see me, if you can hear me. Let me know. I didn't actually publicize this at all, so you know, it's just kind of a test stream to see how it goes. So I'm trying to see if I'm actually streaming. All right, I am streaming. Hey, what's up? Quit eating animals. How you doing? Love your username. So yeah, the stream's gonna be pretty informal. I'm gonna start doing Sunday scaries, not every week, but hopefully as many weeks as I can. And we're gonna do a few different things, from reacting to Reddit to Q&As to streaming debates and stuff like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer, and we can get started with this week's vegan Reddit roundup. So let's see what the vegan Reddit world has been up to this week. I created a new Reddit account called Your Mom's Vegan Butt. I wanted it to be Your Mom's Vegan Butthole, but that was too many letters, so it didn't work. So I'm going to share my screen. Reddit. What up, Carrie? How you doing today? Okay, let's see. Can you guys see me? You can see Reddit. Awesome. I'm just going to kind of go through and react to this stuff and maybe leave some stupid comments if I want to. All right. So the top of this week on our vegan was, please read, cat torture groups in China are posting videos of cats being killed for fun. They have been placed in blenders and meat grinders, boiled alive, burnt, electrocuted, and ... That's really messed up. Obviously, we shouldn't be blending cats, but you know this if you're watching this probably. Chickens and the egg industry are blended up alive all the time. Animals are killed for fun regularly on farms. They are put in meat grinders. They're boiled alive. A lot of times when animals are slaughtered, they are still conscious when they reach the boiling water. So yeah. So then this person, Tyra the Taurus, astrology in her username. Nice. She said, if I speak, y'all are gonna call me an annoying vegan, but at least I wouldn't be a hypocrite. Yeah, I like that. Because anyone who is against this sort of stuff happening to animals, but they're paying for it to happen to animals, that is pretty hypocritical. So let's see what some of the comments said. Hello to everyone in the chat. Hunta, hey, I'm not vegan, but your videos are making me think. That's awesome. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm glad you're thinking about veganism. I promise you, you won't regret going vegan. I am so happy I went vegan. My biggest regret in life is not doing it sooner. So yes, keep thinking, keep learning, keep educating yourself about the industry, because really education is the best way to change. All right, Gareth Stevens, what's up, man? How you doing today? Buttholes was the first word you heard. Yes, I will talk about buttholes a lot on my stream, as I well should. Let's see, is this showing? I don't know if it's showing the comments to you guys, but some of the comments: harnessing the empathy that people feel for certain animals is one of the most effective ways of making new vegans. I think it's what did it for me. I somewhat agree with that, because when we do the Elwood's dog meat pranks, it seems to affect people a lot more than just like some of the other demonstrations we do. I was at Harvard this last fall, and unfortunately I didn't get it on camera because we had like been kicked out of Harvard, so we're kind of resetting things up. But this guy came over to me and he was like, holy shit, oh my God, this isn't real, right? Like this, you're not actually selling dogs. And I was like, okay, you're on to us. We're actually an animal rights group. And he said that the feeling it gave him, he was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm an alcoholic who just got a DUI and I need to completely reconsider my lifestyle. He said that just seeing us comparing the farm animals to dogs was enough for him to go vegan. So he said he was going to go vegan that day. He'd been thinking about it for a bit, but the Elwood dog meat was the wake up call he needed. So yeah, back to that comment. I think that harnessing the power or the feelings that people have toward dogs and cats is absolutely a great way to broach the subject with veganism. So yeah, we shouldn't necessarily criticize people for caring about dogs and cats. I don't think it's necessarily bad to point out that they're hypocrites though. Because I think, and let me know in the chat if you guys agree with this, is that feeling of internal hypocrisy is one of the biggest drivers toward actually going vegan. For me, it was during COVID when I learned about how terrible animal products are for creating pandemics, and I was doing all this stuff to prevent pandemics, but I was still buying animal products. That created that internal sense of hypocrisy for me, and that led me to Reddit are vegan and to watching Earthling Ed and to going vegan. So hello to everyone coming in. What's up, Friendo? How you doing? Telly out, only bought vegan food for about a year. Did eat some non-vegan stuff though. Yeah, that's kind of that, transition phase. I think I don't know if everyone had that, but I certainly did, where I was like, oh, I'm going to be plant-based before 6 p.m. And really I wasn't, because I was still eating salmon and dairy at lunch. I just didn't actually check the labels, but I thought I was doing such a good job because I had reduced so far. But obviously we know that's not enough. Anytime you consume animal products, you are paying for the direct exploitation of animals, and that is not a good thing. All right, Seema, what's up? Longtime fan, always love to watch your vids. I was wondering if you had convinced your family to go vegan, and also if you have any advice on that front. Unfortunately, the answer is no. I know some activists who have managed to do that. Red Pill Pete convinced his entire family to go vegan, which is absolutely insane to me. I've had some conversations with my family. Unfortunately, they didn't really go well. I was terrified to tell my sister that I went vegan. I put it off, and then I told her, I was like, oh, I went vegan. And she immediately started crying. And she said, you better not try to convince me to go vegan. It was bad. And I hadn't even tried at all. That was the first thing. Just me going vegan immediately triggered her like that. So no, I mean, honestly, though, we have a lot more power with our immediate social circle than strangers we happen to meet. So I do think that talking to your friends and family is worth it if you're confident enough. What I would recommend is talking to other people about it a lot first, because that background relationship that you have can just make it a lot harder for people to be persuaded by you. So definitely be careful. I believe that we need strong relationships with friends and family to be happy. And unfortunately, not all those people are going to be vegan unless you only want to live in a vegan bubble. So unless you're willing to risk some of those relationships, I probably would not bring it up out of the blue. If they ask you about veganism, definitely talk about it and answer their questions. And if they seem more interested, keep going. If they shut down, then move on with conversation. Always make them really good food. My parents, honestly, are so much more plant-based than they were when I went vegan. They're always making new recipes. They're, telling me stuff. My mom's on this weird, mostly vegetable diet. So they've made a lot of changes, but they do not identify with the ethical vegan lifestyle, I guess. And my sister is just kind of a lost cause, I think. My sister and I went vegan independent. Where did that comment go? Independent of each other at the same time and noticed on Christmas. That's awesome. That must have been fun to realize that each other was vegan. Hey, vegan, of course. What's up, man? How you doing? I realized I was afraid of streaming because I've been literally since January 1st, I've said, oh, I'm going to stream every Sunday. And I just haven't done it because I've been afraid. But this week I was like, all right, I'm going to get over my fear. So we're going to do it. All right. Seema has another question. How do you personally respond to the religious argument? God says it's okay to eat meat. Jesus ate fish, so it's okay. I'm not sure the best response. Yes. So I would say this depends on your beliefs. If you are Christian, then, kind of lean into that to say oh, I'm a vegan Christian. I'm not personally. I'm I don't really know what I am, nor do I particularly care. But When people approach me with religious arguments, I just ask them, are there Christian vegans? They say yes. So it's a choice. Yes. So just establish that it's a choice, the first thing, and then try to talk from a secular context. If they refuse to do that, then I would say, like, if they say, I I eat animals because God says it's okay, and then I ask if it's a choice and they say yes, but God says it's okay, so I'm going to choose to do that. That happens sometimes. And what I would do there is say, okay, well, let's say that someone else had a religion that said that men are higher than women and women should be treated as lesser than men. Do you think that that is okay because their religion says so? Hopefully they'll say no. And from there, you can say, okay, so we agree that just having a religious belief isn't enough to justify behavior that harms others. Since it's a choice, I want you to acknowledge that you're making a choice. Don't blame it on God. It is your choice. There are Christian vegans. So, yeah, I would try to keep coming back to the fact that it's a choice. And also, apparently, Jesus didn't eat fish. I was talking to someone who like saw Christspiracy. They were talking about it. And there's this scene where like story in the Bible where Jesus supposedly feeds a bunch of fish, but then when you actually read it, apparently it was seaweed. I don't know. I don't know much about the Bible. Maybe I'll learn a lot when I see Christspiracy. But yeah, just make sure to establish that it's a choice. Let's see. I do not think society could be vegan, but technology changes culture. That's true. Technology does change culture. My favorite example of that is whaling. So in 100 couple hundred years ago, the spermaceti, it's like this oil in whales brains, and that was used to power lamps. So it was super valuable because there wasn't electricity, so people needed to see in the dark, right? Unless you want to go to bed at like 7 p.m. And they were killing a bunch of whales to get the spermaceti. Once kerosene came out, once cheaper stuff that powers light came out, then people realized how barbaric whaling was and have mostly stopped. So yeah, absolutely technology changes culture. That being said, I do not think that technology is necessarily enough to change the culture with regard to eating animals. There are a lot of people who think that once lab grown meat comes out and once it's tasty and convenient and the price point is the same as animal meat, then everyone's going to switch over. I don't think that's true because eating meat is so ingrained in our culture, and people have this idea that eating meat is natural. Therefore, they're afraid of the lab grown stuff. So I think we really do need to change culture surrounding eating animals, and that's why I advocate for veganism. Gant Laborde, what's up, man? How you doing? That's a friend from Toastmasters, which, by the way, if anyone wants to get better at public speaking, you should absolutely join Toastmasters. I joined it last January. My public speaking skills have improved so much. So I highly, highly recommend it. Let's see. Joachim says, I think it was strong of you in your latest video when you said something along the lines of, I'm here to connect with people that care about animals. So bye. Yes, absolutely. That's my favorite line when I'm talking to people on the street and they just don't give a shit about animals. They say, oh, I don't care about animals. That line works on a few different levels. The first is that you're establishing, well, first of all, you're setting a boundary, right? You're saying, oh, I don't want to talk to this person who I'm not going to connect with. And then you enforce that boundary by walking away. The second level it works is you're creating this kind of social pressure. You're saying other people care about animals and I want to find them. So you're making caring about animals a good thing. So absolutely, I think that that's a great way to end conversations. You'll notice in my latest video that I actually had to say that a few times before that conversation ended. I was trying a new technique where if one person you're talking to isn't responding, you can shift to the other person. I don't think it worked that well because people behave so differently in groups than as individuals. Pax Fauna did a study where they interviewed people about eating animals alone. And people were so much more open to the idea of changing and so much more open to the idea of evolving away from using animals as food. But when they put them in focus groups and there were 3 or 4 people, if the topic came up, one person would say, oh, well, animals eat other animals. And then everyone else would just kind of agree because they hadn't really thought about it. It like sounded like a good reason. So people behave completely differently in groups than as individuals. So I think if you have a bad apple in the group, it's probably worth it to just end it with the entire group. Although that may not be true. I'm going to test it out a little bit more. I'm going on tour on Tuesday, it'll be Wednesday of this week, and then all next week I'll be on tour as well. So I'm gonna have a lot of time to test some of these new ideas out. All right, Chris asks, how would you rebut the sweatshop argument? Is boycotting might mean people lose their job, however shitty convincing to you? Not sure if you saw. I did see your comment. Yeah, so I was thinking about it. I think that is a good way to respond to that argument in general, but that would take you down a tangent, right? So when I'm talking to people, I'm very aware of like, I don't want this to go down to a tangent. I want it to always be about the animals. So anything that kind of gets out in the weeds, I would rather not do that. Especially because like people hate sweatshops so much, it would probably take at least 5 minutes of talking about the sweatshop, and then you haven't moved anywhere with the animals. So what I'm going to do in the future, I wrote about this in my newsletter. If you want to join my newsletter, go to nataliefulton.substack.com. What I'm going to do in the future is, first of all, spend a lot more time validating their opinion because I saw Ed do that and it really worked. Second of all, I'm going to say, do you have a phone? Do you wear sweatshop clothes? And if they do, I mean, obviously they do, right? Like that dude clearly had a phone. I can say, well, if you didn't and you knew how someone could be a social media manager without a smartphone and you were offering to show me how, I would absolutely be interested and I would listen to you and I would try to learn from you. How I'm not personally here advocating for anything that I'm not willing to do. I've been vegan for years. I think it's easy. I think other people can do it. That's why I'm advocating for animal rights. And I would just say something like that because if they're yelling at you about having a phone, but they also have a phone, it doesn't really make sense. You know, they're trying to say that you have to be perfect. So it just kind of creates an unfair standard. All right. I knew you and Justin particularly are too smart. Oh, that's very sweet. Justin is much smarter than me, but I appreciate the kind words. All right. Back to Reddit. You guys can still see this. Awesome. Plant-based milk is now up to 44% of US households. Great. The dairy industry has been dying for quite some time and the government's propping them up. No one wants to drink cow breast milk anymore. It makes you feel like shit. It smells like shit. It goes bad a lot quicker and yeah, we just don't want it. That being said, I don't think that the fact that people have plant-based meat is anything to do with vegans or the vegan movement or animal rights. I think people just genuinely prefer a lot of the plant-based milk and you know, that's unfortunate. It is nice that the outcome is the same, right? In some ways, like less cows are being exploited. Actually, they're not because the government's just propping it up. But if the government weren't propping it up, then less cows would be exploited, and obviously that would be amazing. All right, if you had a farm and had to make your own clothes, furniture, phones, computers, it would take a few years to learn. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think I could ever learn to make a phone. Like, there's no way. There's no way. Fairphone is now available in the US on the T-Mobile network. That's good to know. So I was thinking whenever I get a new phone, I can get Fairphone. The problem is it's an Android, and Androids are like really confusing to me. But I will look into that next time I need a new phone. I also don't have T-Mobile. I have AT&T. So there's a couple barriers there. Someone mentioned buying a secondhand phone, and I think that would be better for me because then I could still get an iPhone and I could still be on my same network. Let's see. What position do you play in soccer? So I don't play soccer anymore. I used to really love it, and then I just kind of stopped enjoying it. But I played right defender. Let's see. Should there be a hierarchy of animal rights? I'm not sure what that means. If you want to expound on that, Android is great. That's good to know. All right. What else is on Reddit? Beyond Meat is releasing healthier avocado oil based versions of their vegan burger and ground beef. Oh no, don't tell Pierce Morgan. Beyond Burger is going to have avocado oil. He is not going to like that. He's going to say it's killing the bees and Beyond Burger is going to be bee murderers from now on. So honestly, let me know what you guys think of Beyond Burgers. I prefer the taste of Impossible. That being said, they did do animal testing, which I don't like, but they both do side-by-side testing, which I don't love that. Typically when I eat Impossible or Beyond, it's when I'm with meat eaters or when I'm like doing a photo and showing it off. So yeah, I find the ethics of that interesting. I wouldn't say like, oh, they're not vegan, because the goal is kind of explicitly to get rid of using animals for food. So yeah, I don't know. It's a murky thing. Um all right. But yeah, I'm curious to try that. I try to actually not eat avocados very much, because one of my life goals is to go on Pierce Morgan, and he's always like, "Oh, almonds, avocados." I don't really eat almonds, and if I can eliminate avocados, that would be great. I don't eat that many avocados, but I really just want him to not have anything on me. But then I actually saw an old clip of Pierce Morgan from like 10 years ago. And when the vegans were on before the almond avocado thing, he was like, "Do you eat bread?" And then he basically went into like the crop deaths, appeal to futility, whatnot. I think with Pierce Morgan, there really is just no way to win. Jamie Logan did a great job, but still, I mean, it's not like his mind was changed. But I do want to go on Pierce Morgan. Carrie, I don't like the heme iron taste. Ugh. I like it. I actually really enjoy it. Before I was vegan, I would buy Impossible meat instead of ground beef because I just genuinely liked it better. And that in itself opened me up to the idea of going vegan. Let's see. Back to Reddit. Just had the worst Indian food experience. I walked into a completely dead. Sorry, this is loading. Share this tab instead. Awesome. I just had the worst Indian food experience. I walked into a completely dead Indian place, not a single customer. I asked if they had any vegan items, and if not, could they make it vegan? The owner laughed at me in my face and said, "That is not possible. Without meat or dairy, you have nothing. I can't make anything like that." So I left. Indian food is the easiest food in the world to make vegan. Yeah, that's absolutely insane. There's so many foods that aren't meat and dairy, especially at a restaurant. Like, do they have coconut milk? Do they have tofu? Do they have cauliflower? I'm sure they have a lot of stuff that could be made vegan. So just saying that you can't, that's probably why that restaurant was completely empty, because they treat their customers like shit like that. And I've definitely been in some situations where nothing is vegan, and it's always because they add butter to freaking everything in the South. Like, why does butter have to be in everything? It's so annoying. So yeah, I hate that. Any other questions? Is Garuda vegan? I doubt it. um Pierce a short form, aim for Rogan instead. I would love to be on Joe Rogan. I actually think I would kind of vibe with him too, because I don't know if you guys know this, but I am a bro at heart. I love lifting weights. I love cold plunges and all the kind of bro stuff. I'm not as into aliens as Joe Rogan, but I think that we would vibe. So I would definitely love to go on Joe Rogan. But if I could choose any vegan to go on Joe Rogan, it would probably be Mike the vegan, because he just has this insane nutrition knowledge. And I think that any vegan on Joe Rogan is just going to have to talk about nutrition like the entire time. So yeah, if we could get Mike the vegan on Joe Rogan, that would be sick. Let's see. So I guess the Bible's fish mistranslation in his book, Food of the Gods. Interesting. I'll have to read that, because as little as I know about religion, I am interested to learn more. It's because I think it would make me a stronger advocate, especially with Christspiracy coming out. Maybe more Christians are going to be coming into veganism. I bet they're going to be like really pissed about that movie. I haven't seen it yet, but based on what I know about it, it's definitely going to piss off a lot of Christians. All right, percent share screen. Okay. This is on vegan fitness. Swapped out the burgers for trail mix. Haven't looked back. Man, looks good. See, you don't have to eat dead animals to make gains. Here's another vegan fitness one. 6-year weak, fragile, frail vegan. Yeah, she looks good, man. I mean, so I lift weights. I don't look nearly that good. I have been a bit I don't have the best training, or I didn't until recently. The first basically 3 years I was lifting weights, my only goal was to just get in the gym, and I didn't really focus on pushing myself at all, but I did build consistency. And then once I had that consistency, I said, "Okay, I'm ready to start actually pushing myself in the gym." So that's what I've been doing for the last about year or so, and I've definitely made a lot better progress. That being said, it's hard because like I want to cut, and you only make you only make gains if you bulk, and that's just too much. Run, Natalie. I ran today. I did some sprints. It was great. I love doing sprints because sometimes you have to sprint out of slaughterhouses. So we should all be training sprints. Okay. Someone left this review at the restaurant I work at. There are no vegetarian options, only vegan. The menu very misleadingly quotes types and brands of cheese when in fact they serve vegan sludge cheeses. Yes, every vegan cheese is actually just sludge. People are so fucking weird about cheese, man. They just love it so much. And I think cashew queso is so much better than any dairy cheese I've ever had. Vegetarians don't make sense to me, not only because of the horrible dairy industry, all the cows being slaughtered, but also because of the rennet that's in the cheese itself. How come they don't eat gelatin, but they're going to eat rennet? Any vegetarians in the chat, let me know. Why do you still eat cheese? What do you think about that? And all right, piss off the Christians. Yeah, that's always fun. That's always fun. Do you think discussing veganism with others in open conversation is more effective than protests? Probably not. It depends what kind of protest you're talking about. If you have a protest and a campaign, like let's say you're doing fur protest, right? There was this store called Z Crave this past week, and there's been a pressure campaign against them for, I believe, maybe 6 months. And Z Crave just dropped fur. Obviously, protests would be better in that situation. However, if you're I mean, the cool thing about conversations is that they can happen anytime, right? Like anyone can have a conversation with you. You can have conversations with, your dentist, your hairdresser, some random person at the grocery store, and conversations do create a lot of change. I know so many vegan activists, so many, more than I can count, that are vegan because they saw Earthling Ed debates. So that's the power of conversation. It does help turn people vegan. However, I do think we can't just rely on street outreach. I think that would be ridiculous because so many people are never going to go vegan. They're never going to be persuaded. We want animals to have rights independent of whether or not people want them to. So that's why we do the pressure campaigns and things like that. So I think if you're in a city that has protests, you should absolutely go to those. If you're in a city that doesn't, then focus on street outreach because you can do it anywhere, which is the great thing about it. Were you big into cheese before you went vegan? Some people are so obsessed. I really wasn't. I've always been pretty poor as an adult. Just, underemployment is how it is what it is. And because of that, cheese is pretty expensive. Like if I were making tacos, I'd be like, oh, I can spend $6 on cheese to like have a slightly different flavor profile in my taco, or I can spend $6 on beer. Like obviously I'm gonna choose that. So I was never as into cheese as other people. That being said, I love cheese. I loved eating pizza. Pizza's great. I still eat pizza, but yeah, some people are really weirdly into cheese. And now that I'm vegan, it's super weird. So the thing about cheese being addictive and having these like psychoactive properties, I don't think that's true. And the thing about it having queso morphine, from the research that's been done on it, I saw this on Nutrition Made Simple, that doesn't actually hold up. So I would love if vegans stopped talking about how cheese is addictive and just talked about the cows in the dairy industry. Let's see. All right. Some guy discovered the best cheese alternative, add nutritional yeast to hummus. No way. Adding nutritional yeast to hummus tastes good. I don't believe that for a second. I'll try it. But that sounds weird. It sounds like it would just taste like cheesy hummus. I don't know, man. I'm open to trying it, but that does not sound very good, honestly. Okay, back to Reddit. Alton Brown, although I hate to say it, the more I study nutrition and health, the more I think eating beef is really just not a good idea. Yeah, I mean, like we know that red meat, especially processed red meat, is a class 1 carcinogen. We know that it's terrible for the environment. So, yeah, why would you exploit cows like that when you don't have to? It's insane. And the way that people love eating cows so much is really, really creepy. I'm actually going to Texas next week for tour, and I know there's going to just be like all these fucking all this cow stuff everywhere. It's probably going to be rough. A lot of cattle farmers too. So yeah, we should definitely not eat cows. It's bad for your heart, and it's bad for the environment, and it's bad for the cows. Most important of all. Before and after 3 years apart, the gym hasn't just changed my appearance, it's changed everything. I'm very thankful I found it and this sub. Oh, wow, dude, that guy is huge now. Holy shit. So before, he was just looks like addicted to video games. Did he like shave part of his hair? And I'm like, what? That's kind of a weird photo. Um, he looks like a completely different person. And this is the power of fitness. And if anyone is watching this and you don't exercise, I highly recommend exercising. We want to, since we're vegan, we already have people thinking that vegans are weak. We want to go against that stereotype. So try to get into a workout routine. You're also going to be way healthier over the long term if you build muscle. Check out our vegan fitness if you don't know where to start. Which are the vegan subreddits you choose from? So I just made this account like an hour ago, and I put vegan into search Reddit, and then I just followed the ones that seemed interesting. I have a personal account as well, but I didn't want everyone to know it. So this one is your mom's vegan butt. Why do vegans always have to be so preachy and pushy? And it says, trying to convince my vegan brother and his fiance to replace their impossible soy burger and margarine with grass-fed beef and organic grass-fed. Oh, you have to have the grass-fed beef. And if it's grass-fed, then it's totally okay. It's not bad for the environment. People are so weird about grass-fed beef. And, we've all been seeing the stuff about how red meat is like the most nutritionally dense food. Lifting Vegan Logic actually made a really good video where he put in the nutrition of red beef and like tofu and everything. And yeah, it's not the best food. And just because animals are grass fed, first of all, that doesn't mean they're always grass fed. Grass fed just means that they're grass fed for a certain, I think, the majority of their life. But then most of them go to feeding lots where they're just pumped with grain and corn to get up to slaughter weight. Even if they're completely grass fed, completely grass finished, that's even worse for the environment because it takes them longer to get to slaughter weight, and they're still going to go to all the same slaughterhouses. So do not support any sort of animal farming because all of it's terrible. Do you know about the Humane Hoax website? I do not know what that is. I got banned from the environment sub on Reddit for exposing that the mods have implemented auto filters. I saw that. Did you post something on the vegan subreddit about that? Because I think I remember seeing that. That's so messed up, man. I mean, like, mods in general are kind of terrible, and they'll ban you for like the dumbest reasons. I'm banned from a lot of subreddits, by the way. I got banned from Trader Joe's. I got banned from Ask Women. A bunch of other ones just for saying watch Dominion, watch Dominion, watch Dominion. People, if you challenge them slightly on using animals, they're gonna freak out. And yeah, that it's a shame that the environmental sub isn't more open to discussions about this, but I'm not really surprised. One thing that's interesting, I was talking to my husband about this last week, and we were talking about how the vegan movement, we're so small, we really need allies. And who are these potential allies we could have? And he said that probably environmentalists might be the best allies that we could use, because they care, they're willing to change some of their behavior. But every environmentalist I've met is generally not vegan. If you bring it up, they're weird about it, or they feel as if they're already doing so much for the climate that they don't have to go vegan. So I really don't know if environmentalists are worth targeting, although you would think that they would be. So if anyone has ideas for who we could ally with, I would appreciate that. Okay, is it possible for you to make the browser window bigger? Full screen? Well, then I'm not in it. Exit full screen. No, this is what it is. Maybe you could make your screen bigger to see it. All these pop-ups. Humane washing and greenwashing, yes, for sure. Garuda, pick me as an ally. I don't know, man. I feel like I wonder about you. I don't know why you watch so much vegan content. I think it's a little weird. I do appreciate that you comment on my videos and help me in the algorithm. I don't think you're a good ally because you're not for animal rights. So yeah, I do not know. Hard to imagine any non-vegan ally. Yeah, it is hard to imagine non-vegans allying with us because they don't want vegans to win, right? They want to keep using animals. So yeah, it's possible. Seema, have you been to a slaughterhouse? Do you want to rescue animals at one? How do you go about organizing something like that? Yes, I have been to many slaughterhouses. I have rescued an animal. I cannot tell you anything about that on stream. However, if you live in the US, Direct Action Everywhere is a good organization to get into for that. Absolutely, we should be rescuing animals. It's a great thing to do. There's an upcoming trial in Wisconsin. It's the Ridgeland trial where Wayne and Eva from Pax Fauna and Paul Picklesmeyer, I believe, are going to be on trial for rescuing beagles from a testing facility. So I'm probably going to make a video about it. I may interview Wayne coming up here. But yeah, absolutely, we should be rescuing animals because going vegan is great. You do save animals by not exploiting them, but we can have more direct power by taking them directly, rescuing them. I absolutely think we should do that. And if you want to organize something like that, check out Direct Action Everywhere. Try to build a team, try to find people you can trust, or, just drive down, look on Google Maps, drive down to a slaughterhouse, scope it out. Don't go in, nothing trespassing yet. But yeah, absolutely. I think people should pursue that. Omar, I would say social justice advocates. Yeah, social justice advocates you would think would be more open to veganism, but at the same time, I see a lot of them on Twitter and stuff just saying veganism's ableist and whatnot. So yeah, I do not know. Buddhist allies, that's possible. I mean, a lot of them are vegetarian, right? So yeah. Let's see. Natalie, I agree with you regarding environmentalists. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Natalie, mind me if I ask what's your full-time job. I'm in between things right now. Um I can't announce anything yet, but I may be joining forces with another animal rights organization. Really hope it happens. I'll be able to announce that in a couple weeks. So then I'll have a full-time job. But right now I'm in between because I go on tour with Allied Scholars for Animal Protection sometimes. So like having a job in addition to that is tough. But yeah, I will have news on that front very soon. Some guy got a ban from environment, yeah, and debate a meat eater sub. I didn't even know that was a sub. That's interesting because there's debate a vegan, debate a meat eater. Okay. Let's see. Every vegan who can needs to do activism in some way. Absolutely. Everyone should be doing activism. It's so easy. There's so many things you can do. One thing you can do right now, get on Instagram, follow Animal Activism Mentorship. They're always posting things you can do. You can comment on, stores that are using fur. You can ask them to stop. You can up the pressure. No matter where you are in the world, you can get involved with online campaigns. That being said, if you do have a community in your city, absolutely join up with them. Anon, have you met Atun Shea Films in New Orleans? Yes, I have met him. Cabbage Patch Kids or Sour Patch Kids? Are Sour Patch Kids vegan? I thought they would have gelatin. I don't know. I don't like sour food. And I don't like dolls. So probably neither. Robin had posted my last outreach. I think it was a good method. Awesome. You posted outreach. That's amazing. Good job. Keep it up. I'll put a link in the chat for anyone so we can check it out because yeah, it's really, really cool that you're doing that. I think that everyone should do outreach and film it if you can, because the more outreach, the more people we can reach, the more people who go vegan, the better. That being said, if you live in a city with pressure campaigns, do those. Outreach is more for people who don't have other options, I would think. Lewis, there's many ways to do activism advocacy, including art and music. Absolutely. Art and music change the world. I mean, I know so many people who went vegan because of Morrissey. And one of my friends went vegan because he was leaving some concert. I forget who it was. And someone gave him a PETA pamphlet, and it had a picture of a chicken. It said, "I am not a nugget." And then he's actually vegetarian. He went vegetarian that day. So that is awesome. How was it meeting Atun Shea? I'm not answering any more questions about that. There are vegan people who are not activists but make good vegan food. Yeah, I think that the vegan food people I have tremendous respect for, like the Burger Dude, Rainbow Plant Life. A lot of these people are great because there are so many people who don't necessarily want to go vegan, but they'll cook different recipes. And if those recipes are really good, then maybe they'll think about going vegan. So absolutely, I think recipe videos are great. I don't make them because it's hard. I do think I'm a pretty good cook, and I try cooking for people a lot of the time, but, yeah, I wondered if Atunche is vegan, for sure, he's vegan. Vizak, do you meet vegans when you do outreach? How does the conversation go? I do meet a lot of vegans when I do outreach. It's usually when I have my sign that says, "Help me grow my YouTube channel, answer thought-provoking questions." That sign attracts a lot of vegans, and the problem is that I don't tell them up front that we're talking about veganism, so I'll get, like, halfway through an interview and think it's going really well and that I can turn this meeting to vegan, and then they'll be like, "Oh, I'm already vegan." And I'm like, "Oh, no, that sucks because, like, it defeats the purpose of what I'm doing right now." And then I try to tell them to do activism. It's really hard getting non-active vegans to do activism, I've noticed, but that's going to be a focus of mine in the near future for sure. All right, back on Reddit. Cows just give milk. We're going to have to go to a different screen for this. So I'm having dinner with my family. We were bickering about milk and stuff. And when I said that a cow has to give a child to give milk, those people, male and female, average 65 years old, laughed at me. So we spent a few minutes about me being in mental despair, my dad Googling, my parents stay aside of this talk, and people who spent their childhood in villages saying some biologically unrealistic things. They are so sure, like literally. So am I delusional, or there's some USSR super cows? Haha, I can't. I just can't listen to this. Okay, that was weird. So I can't imagine anyone Googling, do cows just give milk? And it, like I guarantee something from PETA or some animal rights group would come up and say, like, oh, this is what happens to cows in the industry. That being said, I did not know the cows had to be forcibly impregnated to make milk until I was 30 years old. It was the day before I went vegan. I was reading Earthling Ed's ebook, 39 Vegan Excuses and How to Respond to Them. There was a section on vegetarians. Basically, it's not enough to just be vegetarian. And that's where he explained the cows are forcibly impregnated to make milk. I literally did not know for my entire life before that, because when we're kids, they basically say, like, oh, cows just make milk. It's what they do. They don't mention the impregnation. It's so messed up that they're so, maybe some people know more than I did about agriculture. Let me know in the chat how old you were when you found out the cows had to be pregnant to make milk, or if you're just learning that right now. Let's see. Yeah, there is unfortunately a lot of social hostility toward vegans currently, which probably turns people off from advocacy. Absolutely. There was this Reddit poll I posted on my Instagram story, and it asked, what's the hardest part about being vegan? There were 5 options. It was like avoiding animal products, avoiding products tested on animals, the rage you feel about being vegan, that we live in this cruel world. And the choice that got by far the most votes was just dealing with non-vegans. Yes, people hate vegans. The only group that people hate more than vegans is drug addicts, according to one study. So yeah, it's tough, man. Like, who wants to be part of a group that's going to be socially ostracized? Most people don't have the social courage to be vegan, and it's a damn shame, because social courage is a very valuable skill. So yeah, people hate vegans. It's a bummer. That's another reason I kind of want to move away from like being like talking about vegans and talking more about animals, right? Like, if we can connect veganism with animals instead of with vegans, I think people would be a lot more open to it. I thought mammals could produce unlimited milk as long as they were well fed. Nope, they produce for, I believe, about a year. Maybe sometimes they can do it longer if they're like pumped with enough hormones and whatnot. But yeah, you got to keep impregnating them for sure. Chris, I grew up on a dairy farm west of Ireland. Wow, Chris, let us know how you became vegan. That's really interesting. I love meeting people who were raised on a farm going vegan. If you are vegan, if you're just some random farmer, let me know that as well. But yeah, that's wild, because they're so, generations and generations have been doing this work, and I'm sure it's a really big part of their identity, this farming background. So yeah, I could see it would be hard to go vegan. I know Rowdy, or no, her name's Renee from Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. Farmer turned vegan. That's awesome. These really inspiring stories like that. Let's see. Vegans are badass when they can get out there and not worry about holding non-vegans in. Absolutely. Badass vegans, man. Don't be apologetic. Just just do your thing. Let's see. Vegan sandwich in Switzerland. That's nice. I've never seen something like that in the US. It kind of looks like it's from like an airport or something. But yeah, good job, Switzerland. I wonder what it's like to be vegan there. Any Swiss vegans in here? Let us know. Save yourselves. Rick Wiles thinks that meatless foods can alter human DNA in order to cause human beings to no longer be technically classified as humans. A plot that would make it impossible for them to be saved by Christ. What the fuck did I just read? First of all, I don't know who that is. I guess he's a Christian TV host. So it would actually be really cool if eating that stuff did alter our DNA, because then people couldn't use that, oh, we're humans, so we're so different from animals excuse, because we would no longer be human. That'd be sick. I didn't realize that Jesus could only save humans. It probably does say that in the Bible. I don't know. That is weird. So yeah, be careful of the new Beyond Burgers, because they're gonna make it impossible for you to get into heaven. Garuda, I'm 37. Hey, you're not that much older than me. For some reason, I thought you were really old. I was vegetarian in the 90s. I think vegans should have vegan options. Obviously, vegans should have vegan options. Yeah, I see how a heifer in a bowl makes a baby as a kid. What? Okay. Vegetarian in the 90s, that's cool. That's, I think the 90s were actually a really good time for animal rights. And then things kind of dwindled after that. Wait, so Chris, my mom was vegan even though my dad wasn't. Really weird now I think of it. I inherited the farm. Now Tyler, oh, potatoes. It's sick, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, it would be weird to be a vegan and to marry an animal farmer. I obviously couldn't do that. Natalie, you look only 27. Thank you. I am 34. But it's interesting. I have this scale that like measures your biological age or whatever, and it says I'm 31. So that's the age I was when I went vegan. So yeah, I just stopped aging. My husband too. He also, it says he's 28, so he also stopped aging when he went vegan as well. So yeah, like anyone see that Netflix documentary You Are What You Eat? And they measured everyone's telomeres at the end and found that they were longer. You want your telomeres to be long because that means that you're aging a lot slower, which is pretty cool. Animals are like children, but that does not make me a hypocrite if I eat meat. Okay, so this is vegan circle jerk, so the fiery stuff. Okay, no, I do not think it's fine. That stuff is just as bad to me. Animals are exactly like children in that they cannot consent. It's more than disgusting. It's wrong. Do you eat meat? Get the fuck out with that BS. I'm not interested in debating the ethics of bestiality with you. What? This is such like a mediator thing to like go on a huge rant about how terrible animal abuse is and then be like, "Oh, the second you challenge my animal abuse, like fuck you." That happens in New Orleans this past Mardi Gras. Some people were at a parade and they were tossing a piglet around like a football. They were just throwing this pig. And then someone found the pig, rescued him, and took him to the Louisiana Humane Society where he's safe now. But the comments on that story were like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that to the pig. So glad he's safe. That's horrible animal abuse. I guarantee everyone making those comments was eating hot dogs that day because that's a big thing that people eat on the parade route. So yeah, people are super hypocritical when it comes to food. It's almost like they only think like they think animal abuse is wrong, but if you abuse the animals for food, it suddenly becomes fine because that's what we've been told, when we were kids, I guess. So yeah, it's weird, man. It's impossible to sleep next to someone who doesn't have the same diet. I don't know if that's a joke. I personally wouldn't want to be with a non-vegan just because I think it would break me down over time emotionally. Like I can't fully be myself with non-vegans. I have to be able to be like freaking, out and about, right? Or out with my views. So yeah, I don't think I could have like a really good relationship with someone if they weren't vegan. That being said, I don't think that vegans should never date non-vegans because honestly, that's the best way to turn people vegan. You have so much influence over the person you're dating. And second of all, even if they never go vegan, they're probably consuming way fewer animal products just by dating you than if they weren't, right? So it could save animals as well, I guess, in sort of a roundabout way. Um, all right. Beyond Meat, we already talked about that. 29-year-old best friend entrepreneur want to reinvent plant-based meat with real animal fat. If you add fat, it makes the taste incredible. What the fuck? Why would we be using animal fat? That's definitely not vegan. And why does this have so many? I guess this is a joke. Um, Oh, it's lab grown fat. One of the companies is using lab grown fat, and another company is using actual dead animal parts. The reporting conflates the two, and vegans will need to be even more discerning to differentiate cultured meat from regular meat in this space. Well, if it's lab grown, as long as no animals were hurt, I think that's fine. Supposedly, this process is easier to make and scale than full blown lab grown meat. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Um, because yeah, I guess lab grown meat, like, it does exist. It's just not scalable yet. Obviously, it will be at some point, but the 10% lab grown real fat makes it taste more like meat. That's great. I mean, the more we can replicate the taste, the better in my book. Although, like I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, I don't know if everyone saw that, but I don't think that's going to turn everyone vegan because meat is so ingrained in our culture. Plus, we don't want a world where everyone's just eating lab grown meat, but they're still buying leather. They're still looking down on animals. They're still going to zoos. We want animal liberation, and that's not going to come from people just switching to lab grown meat. Chris, veganism is the biggest indicator for me. It's a question of morals. If you stand up for animals when you have every reason not to, you are a good person. Yeah, I mean, I think that it really is a good indication of kind of where you would stand on atrocities in the past. That being said, I've met a lot of vegans who are shit people. So it's not like you're automatically a great person because you're vegan. And I know a lot of people who are really good who aren't vegan. Maybe they've not heard of veganism or anything like that. So it can't be the basis by which we judge people. I think it's a lot more useful to just only judge actions, right? Instead of people as a whole. So the action, paying for an animal to be tortured, when you have another option, obviously that action is wrong, but you can't necessarily extrapolate that to the whole person. You could have someone who's stealing money from poor people and being a total shitbag, and they just like prefer the taste of plant-based food. I don't think that makes them a good person. Sunday is a good day to get drunk. Man, Sunday fun day, right? Right, a friendo. So I've had a bit of a journey with alcohol consumption this past year. It was last March. I went to UT Austin, and that was literally, I was with, like, maybe 5 to 10 people throughout the majority of the week, and none of them really drank. And that was the first time I had ever been around a group of people who didn't drink a lot, because I'm from Tennessee. I live in New Orleans. Drinking culture is very heavy. I just like didn't even really realize that a lot of people don't drink. It was so weird to me. So, and then I was a bit heavier than I wanted to be. I didn't have quite as much energy. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to do 30 days, no alcohol. And that 30 days it became a lot more. I still drink on special occasions, but so much less than I used to. I used to drink almost every single night. In New Orleans, that's how it is. That's so many people drink all the time. But yeah, alcohol is pretty bad for you. I would recommend cutting back, especially because then your tolerance is lower. So now I drink once every month or so, and it's way better. The other thing is I got this Whoop. I don't know if you guys know what Whoop is, but it tracks your sleep and your recovery and everything. And when you drink, your recovery is just so much worse. Your resting heart rate shoots up. So just seeing the numbers every day, yeah, it's crazy how much alcohol can affect you. Natalie, if I recall correctly, from about 32 years ago, nearly a year after going vegan, my total cholesterol was 19. That's really low, right? Don't most people have like cholesterol in the 50s or something? I have no idea what my cholesterol is. Yeah, who knows? All right. Livestock produces 5 times the emissions of all aviation. Holy shit. I knew it was a lot. I didn't realize it was that much. 5 times of all aviation. Think about how much pollution planes are. Like, that's crazy. So yeah, just more evidence at how terrible animal agriculture is for the environment. Once again, that's not the biggest selling point of veganism, but I honestly do feel like maybe we do kind of need to lean into that, just because it's a way more popular issue. All right. Anything else in the chat? Drinking alcohol raises your risk of getting several kinds of cancer. For sure, for sure. I used to kind of have the attitude like, oh, everything's gonna give you cancer, like whatever. But I decided that I want to be around longer to fight for animals. I didn't have as big of a reason to want to live before I wanted to do animal rights. But now I consider it like my life's work to do as much for the animals as I can. And part of that work is keeping myself healthy. So yeah, I gotta try not to do stuff that causes cancer. Um, to the best of my ability. It's hard living in Louisiana though. Like 15 miles from me, there's this town called Norco. I think it's a little further than 50 miles, but yeah, they call it Cancer Alley because everyone just gets cancer from the oil refineries, and there's no way that's not coming into New Orleans. I also live right by the interstate, so there's all this exhaust coming from cars and like getting into my house. My allergies are so much worse now that I live by the interstate. So yeah, it sucks that our environment has been designed to be very, very toxic. Alabama Senate passes ban of lab grown meat. Moving it in the state would be a felony. That's crazy. I mean, that's not crazy. Like, I know a lot of states are thinking about these bans. I don't know if you guys saw, if you follow Faraz Harsini, but he actually went to Florida to talk about the proposed ban there. And he did a great job. He showed that it was an issue of, the economy. He really spoke the conservative language well. Because if you go up there and you're like, lab grown meat's good for animals, they're not going to take you seriously, right? But if you say lab grown meat could help the economy, this is infringing on our freedom because people should have the freedom to make lab grown meat if they want. So it's a bummer that Faraz didn't go to Alabama. I'm going to tell him, why the fuck weren't you in Alabama, Faraz? It's a shame that passed, but we got to be aware of that. I think it's going to pass in a lot more states. So we gotta fight for sure. Vegan circle jerk. People in Cape Town complaining that a ship holding 19,000 cows is causing a stench throughout the city. Most base comment I found. You eat meat, then shut up about the smell of the ship mirrors the smell in your souls. The smell in your souls. That's awesome. Yeah, that's such a shame. I remember I was reading about like the North Carolina pig lagoons, and there were these signs like put down the bacon or shut up. And I agree. Like if you're consuming bacon and you're talking about like you know, how terrible the smell is, like the smell is there because of you, right? You're contributing to that smell. That would be like me like lighting a bunch of gasoline on fire and being like, "Oh, it smells bad." It's like you're the one who lit it. I actually love the smell of gasoline as well. Let's see. Being vegan for the animals is a great way to smarten yourself up for sure. I'm definitely smarter since I've been vegan. Not necessarily smarter, but I think about things more deeply and I'm more conscious of the other things in my life. Whereas before I didn't really care that much about morality. I had maybe some interest in it, but since going vegan, morality became a huge concern for me in a lot of things. And that's the vegan mindset has bled out into different behaviors. And I think it's super valuable. So yeah, going vegan definitely makes you better. So if you're not vegan, freaking do it. Natalie Fulton, I have a good faith question. Do you think we should go to a permaculture way of earth or keep the monocropping system? I live in Florida, so I can eat local. I am not sure what the permaculture way of earth means. I think the monocropping system is probably bad, and most monocrops are fed to farmed animals. So a great way to eliminate a lot of monocrops is to stop farming animals. Natalie Fulton, the gas huffing vegan. Hell yeah. That's the good shit. That is the good shit. I used to get out of the car at gas stations as a kid just to get a whiff. Maybe that's why you're vegan. It damaged your brain. You ever think about that? I only eat meat apples. Vegan, try this apple. Meat eater. Tastes good. Vegan. It's vegan. Meat eater. I thought it tasted funny. Yeah, that's like such a freaking common cope. Like, I'm sure you guys saw that sausage expert who tried, they told him one sausage was meat and one was vegan. And actually, they were both vegan. So he tried one. He's like, oh, it's luscious. It's lovely. It tasted just like the sausage I had this morning. Then when they told him it was vegan, he was like, oh, I thought it tasted funny. Like, you really just can't even make that stuff up. I think there was one study where, like, they determined that they were like testing plant-based meats along with meat, and they would tell people it was like the wrong thing. And the biggest determinant of whether or not people liked it was if they thought it was meat or not. Even if they Like if they thought it was meat, but it was actually vegan, they still enjoyed it more than like the vegan one that was the same just because they thought it was meat. And they've done studies with that where, they'll give people some cheap wine and say it's really expensive, and they always prefer the expensive wine. And even though it was like switch. So yeah, our perception of things affects the way things taste. And I've actually been thinking about that with like ex-vegans too, is like a lot of them say they started to feel really bad and whatnot. And I'm wondering if that's because they have this unconscious belief that being vegan isn't healthy, kind of like we're told our whole lives. And because they have that belief, it manifests physically. I think that is definitely possible. Maybe that happened with Cosmic Skeptic because he talks about how he needed nutrient dense food, even though animal products aren't more nutrient dense. The fact that he thought they were and that he couldn't get the nutrients from plants could have affected how he felt. Also, he wasn't eating enough calories. So, that was multifaceted. Um, okay. Hee hee, I'm vegan, but not like those vegans. I'm a cool vegan. I can find the humor in torturing and murdering animals. LOL, love me. That's a great caption. Can I replace the leeks with bacon and the broccoli with bacon and the cauliflower with bacon and the zucchini with beef? Ha, I'm vegan, but that was incredibly entertained by this comment. Oh my god, I'm guessing that was on like some sort of a vegan recipe. And yeah, that's super cringe. Meat eaters are just like, they always mention bacon and steak. Like, I don't know why. I do think bacon is among the most cruel just because the pig industry is like so vile. But steak, in terms of the farmed animal lives, probably the beef cows have the best lives out of any other animals in the industry. Not saying it's good, not saying that means that we're justified to kill them, but it is interesting how meat eaters always try to say steak as like a own it to the vegans. Like, why are you saying steak? Like chicken and pig are a lot more cruel. Um Hey chat, do you believe in vampires? So I actually know many vampires. I live in New Orleans, as you know. I used to work as a ghost tour guide in the French Quarter. There were many tour guides who thought that they were vampires. And there are different types of them. They have different covens, they call it. Some of them would drink blood. They're called sanguinarians, and they believed that they could not be healthy unless they were drinking blood, like they needed the iron from it or something. It kind of sounds like a meat eater, honestly. So vampires definitely exist. You will find them in New Orleans. There's some terrible like show on Tubi or something. I think it's called Vampire, and it's just like life of the vampires in the French Quarter. And it's the most cringiest shit. Yeah, so they stay up all night. They just go to these weird bars, and then like sometimes they'll drink each other's blood. So yeah, I know this one this one vampire I know. Um, Whenever you ask him how old he is, he says, "I'm 473," because like they live forever. So yeah, just really, really silly stuff. Hunta, what was the hardest part about going vegan? For me, the hardest part about going vegan was, yeah, just feeling like I'd been lied to my whole life. Once I saw Dominion and I saw the behind the scenes of what happens to animals in the industry, it was really hard to psychologically deal with that. Not only that I'd been paying for it for my whole life, but that we're encouraged to do that, and that the meat industry is lying about it. And yeah, it's just rough just learning about what's happening to animals, and it does kind of create some sort of trauma in you. Obviously, nothing compared with what the animals go through. But for me, the hardest part about going vegan and being vegan is just feeling like the world is so broken, it's so wrong. What we do to animals is so messed up, and how like yeah, we've just been torturing animals like since we've been a species, right? And it's horrible. Like we need to fundamentally change the way we relate to other species. So for me, that was the hardest part about going vegan. I actually I thought the diet would be really hard, and I texted my vegan friend like, "Oh my god, what am I going to do about chocolate?" And she's like, dark chocolate's vegan." Like I pretty much only eat dark chocolate. The stuff I was eating was already vegan, most of it. So the diet aspect was easy. The rage I felt for the world was definitely the hardest part for me. But let me know in the chat, what was the hardest part about going vegan for you? Do you think most people struggle with the social aspect? I think that's why most people stop eating plant-based. Absolutely. So I was talking about this Reddit poll earlier that asked what the hardest part about being vegan was for people, and the social stuff came in at 5 times harder than the diet itself. So absolutely, social stuff is really hard. We are social animals. If we didn't go along with our tribe when we were evolving, we would literally be killed. So like it's an issue of survival, this social stuff. So I think that that's definitely the hardest part, and that's why I think so few people go vegan is because so many people just lack the social courage that it takes to stand away from the herd. Um, is Dominion the best doc you would recommend to watch? Yes. I think if you want to learn about what happens to the animals in animal agriculture and you'll really know, like when you watch Dominion, you're going to know a lot about just the entire life of these animals. It starts with pigs and it shows them when they're born and then the slaughter and like everything. And it does that with all these different animals. So, I really do recommend Dominion, especially to non-vegans, because when I went vegan, so I remember that it was a Thursday and I read Earthling Ed's ebook and I thought, oh, I'm going to go vegan. And I signed up for vegan boot camp challenge or something. Then on Friday, they sent me Dominion. And I was working from home at the time because it was during COVID. And I would watch it for 10 minutes and then I would just cry. Then I respond to a few emails, watch it for 10 minutes again, cry, respond to a few emails. That's how I did it. So it might take you all day. It's really hard to watch, but absolutely you should watch it. Kamari. Is Kamari in here? Hey, Kamari, what's up, dude? For anyone who doesn't know, if that's the same Kamari, unless it's like a different Kamari, Kamari also works with ASAP. So I'm gonna see him on Tuesday. We're gonna go to Dallas. We're gonna do a lot of advocacy at Northern Texas University, and then we're going to Sam Houston State University, and then we are going to Texas A&M. So I'm gonna focus on getting a lot of debates because y'all love debates. So definitely expect that coming from me next. That being said, I'm not going to make a video this week and I may not make a video next week. So don't look forward to my Friday posting schedule. That's part of why I'm doing the stream. So yeah, for sure. Garuda, I seen that 22% of the Earth's population is vegetarian. That seems high. That seems really high to me. It's possible. It's definitely possible, but I don't know. Hunta, I think the cultural aspect is the hardest for me. Yeah, absolutely. The cultural stuff is hard because it's so ingrained in our culture. The thing that I would recommend you think about is just how much culture changes over time, even within our lifespan, right? Like when I was in high school, me and some of my friends were trying to start the GSA, Gay Straight Alliance. Um, and, this was like 2006, 2007. There was mass opposition. Like people did not want that to be a club. One teacher actually shut us down at student council meeting. He ended the meeting so that we couldn't get the club started. So it was a huge controversy. And now, it's like you're gay, whatever. Like gay rights has come so far. Gay marriage is legal. That's just in the time that I've been alive. If you think about racism, right? Like I was just watching Malcolm X, which is an amazing movie. If you guys haven't seen it, so good. But just the racism that was commonplace 70 years ago is insane. I mean, they were literally just like hanging black people and that was celebrated. And people were so mean and so awful. And I know that things are not perfect now. Racism is still a problem. It still exists, but at least it's not legal, right? At least it's not socially acceptable as much anymore. If it is socially acceptable where you are, I would recommend you change your social circle. So yeah, the cultural aspect is difficult, but culture changes. And you have to think like, do you want to be part of the group that's changing culture to be better for animals? Or do you want to be the people that are continuing to use and abuse them when you don't need to? So yeah, the cultural stuff is difficult. I would never downplay that. But you have an opportunity to be a leader in your community, and that is great as well. Carrie, if you have an agreeable personality, culture pressure can be hard. I think that I have a pretty agreeable personality. Y'all are going to think like, oh, no way. Like you go out and debate meters. And yeah, that's true. But like, I'm generally fairly agreeable. And, I still went vegan. It was like 2 weeks before I went vegan. I remember I was talking to my mom on the phone. And she was like, I hate vegans and vegetarians. just like randomly, like I don't know why. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some difficulty to it, but yeah, just once you connect with the animals, if you watch Dominion, the problems that you have are going to seem so small in comparison to that. So yeah, just keeping a focus on why you want to do it and why it's important. That's going to get you through a lot of the difficulties. It's frustrating when friends and family say they agree with you but are too lazy, selfish to change. Yeah, I absolutely hate that. That's so annoying. It's like it's almost worse than when they try to argue with you because like it's kind of like a get out of jail free for them. They can be like, "Oh, I agree with you." So they're shutting down the conversation, but like I don't want to change, right? And most of those people have never tried. They've never watched Dominion to try to get that fire inside them to change. They've never made a real attempt to go vegan. Maybe they'll try buying like Beyond Beef and then they don't like it as much and then they give up, right? So it's so frustrating. Um and like you don't like I'm really lazy too. I feel like I'm semi-selfish as well. Like I think everyone's pretty selfish. It's not that vegans are less lazy than other people. It's just that we know more about the industry. So yeah, no one, maybe some people are too lazy to go vegan, but you got to eat either way. It's not harder to eat vegan food than to make other food. So laziness is not a good excuse. Gareth going to watch Malcolm X. Absolutely do it. It's 3 hours long, so be prepared. I actually watched it in 2 days. Um but yeah, it's really good and it really made me feel like as bad as things are for the animals, like if they could get through that, like we can get through this. And at least we're not the ones being prosecuted, right? Like we're not the ones being attacked and being killed. I mean, we are being like sent to jail or whatever, but it's it's not as bad as what they went through when they were literally like being shot at and hanged and insulted all the time. So yeah, it definitely put a lot of things in perspective for me. I had been feeling really down on myself and just like kind of hopeless and like, oh, things are never going to change for animals. Then when I watched that, I felt a lot better. It really gave me a good perspective. So absolutely watch it. Lewis, have you read The Dreaded Comparison? No, I haven't. I've never even heard about it. But I did just finish a book, so I need a new book. So yeah, I'll check it out. Veggie Shiba, what does the animal rights movement need the most in your opinion? Yeah, so what do we need the most? We need a big cultural shift away from eating animals. We need social pressure to make people feel because the social pressure is in the opposite direction of what we want right now, right? The social pressure is to eat animals, and if you don't, you're weird. We need to switch that because people are such social animals. The only way we can really do this is by changing culture. So I think what we need the most is we need more vegans for sure. People power is always great. We need more vegans who are good at doing shit. And this is why I like working with ASAP. For anyone who doesn't know, Allied Scholars for Animal Protection is an organization that creates clubs on college campuses and helps those students go into animal rights careers. So whether that's animal law or creating lab grown meat or anything else, most things you can do, you can translate to an animal rights career. So we need more people doing this all the time. We also need so there's this organization called Pro Animal Future. Love what they're doing. They've created ballot initiatives in Denver right now. So one of the laws is to ban slaughterhouses, and one is to ban the sale of fur. I think stuff like that is incredible because then we're like, we have the problem with changing laws right now in the US, right? Is that the meat and dairy lobby is so big and they have so much money and they're just paying off politicians, and we're never going to be able to compete with that. But ballot initiatives, they are only possible in about half of states, but you can essentially create a law and get it in front of voters during elections, and then they can vote on the law directly. So I think ballot initiatives are something we need more of. Absolutely. And just kind of small steps that have big results. We need more patience. We need more people power. We need more power in general. There's a lot of things we need, but the good news is that we have a lot of people that are really passionate and really dedicated. So we can do it. But I think we need to have a long-term focus for sure. Um, the Dreaded Comparison delves deep into the parallels between human slavery and animal exploitation. That sounds awesome. I will definitely read that. That sounds really cool. Um, yeah, that sounds really interesting. Gareth, I currently work at a restaurant, but I want to get out and go to a vegan restaurant. Yeah, I feel that, man. I quit like last September or so. It was a half vegan restaurant. So at least they had vegan stuff for everything, but it's just hard being around dead animals and animal products, like, it just made me uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to be making money from a business that exploits animals, right? Like, I know that there are a lot of businesses that exploit animals, and I don't necessarily think it's wrong to be a vegan and work in a restaurant because they would have someone else doing it, and then you get to be a good example for people around you. But yeah, it can definitely be emotionally taxing. I actually took this job at a bar. I was only there for 2 weeks. I quit like right away because I wanted to be a bar back, but they hired me as a food runner. So basically, all I did was like bring dead animals to people, and I just couldn't do it anymore, man. Like, it's too much. The problem is, like, there aren't that many vegan restaurants, like, if I wanted to work at a vegan restaurant, there's like one option that's open past like, you know 3 p.m., and it's far away from my house. So yeah, if you want to work in the restaurant industry at a vegan place, you gotta live in the right spot, and not everybody does. Dandelion gum. I'm just tired of vegans comparing me to less than human. Believe it or not, I am black and have feelings. I just don't like to be compared to an ape, chicken, or mosquito. I think that, like, when people say that you shouldn't compare animals to humans, if they're coming from a speciesist perspective, I can see why they think that's wrong. Because if you think that animals are so far beneath you and then someone compares you to an animal, then they're insulting you. The thing with vegans, though, is that we respect animals and we respect humans. So if a vegan compares someone to an animal, that's not an insult, right? We're just saying, like, oh, we are animals. We're biologically animals. I don't think that is wrong. Um, but that's just me, the crazy vegan. Rewriting history, groundbreaking new research reveals that early human diets were primarily plant-based. Didn't we already know this? I believe that Game Changers talked about this. Rewriting history, because they found, like, stool samples, and when they analyzed them, they found that the people were getting over 100 grams of fiber per day, which is an insane amount of fiber. I don't get that much fiber. Most vegans only get like 50, 60 grams of fiber. So yeah, they were eating a ton of plants. So yeah, I thought we already knew this, but maybe there's some new stuff. Make the case stronger. Research shift from hunter gatherers to gatherer hunters. Interesting. Study analyzed remains from the Willamaya Pachka. Okay, I can't pronounce that. An 80% plant based and 20% meat diet. That's actually, I would have expected it to be 95% plant based. This finding based on isotope chemistry. I wonder, I would bet that most people now have an 80% plant predominant diet, because when you look at, like, there was that study that showed that 83% of our calories already come from plants, and that meat is only 17%, and it's having this, terrible effect on the environment. So that's probably looking more at, like, lower income countries, and higher income countries, their diet's probably more meat. Um, but yeah, that's not surprising to me. Archaeologists thought that they were meat based. Nope. No, we didn't. um, 80% plant, 20% meat. So the reason, I think this actually is good to have, because so many people, like, care so much about the way we evolved, right? That's like a huge thing, is they eat animals to be closer to natures and closer to, like, the early humans, and to feel like their ancestors. Um, so yeah, maybe if we let them know that our ancestors ate a lot of plants, it might change them. I don't necessarily think it's super relevant to how we behave today. Like, our lives are so completely different from our ancestors. And yes, there are some things that's a shame. It would be nice if more people spent more time with their family and, like, immediate friends, and got more exercise and whatnot. But yeah, it kind of seems a little appeal to nature-y to really use this as an argument for veganism. Although it is interesting, and I'm glad to see that archaeologists are learning. Food is incredibly important for survival. Duh. We now have the tools to understand early human diets, and the results are not what they anticipated. Yeah, once again, showing how technology changes the way that we think. All right, back to this one. Present. All right. What's going on in the chat? Vegans in a city usually work at no-kill animal shelters. Interesting. I've never thought about working at a shelter. That could be cool. You'd probably just have to walk dogs a lot, which is nice. I like walking my dog. They have a book that's called A Prayer for the Animals. In one part, they pray that all of the cows and pigs rest peacefully tonight. Well, I guess they rested peacefully because they were dead. I am married. Yes, I did get married. Garuda, do you still like vegan gays? Who doesn't love vegan gays, man? What do you think will be the time scale of achieving a mostly vegan world? So someone asked AI that recently, and they said that there would be this huge technological innovation in 2032 and that people would be mostly vegan by 2075. So maybe AI is right. I'm not sure. I would love it if it were sooner than that. I don't necessarily think it will. I Yeah, I think that maybe we shouldn't think about that so much. I think it's better to focus on like kind of short term, like what can we do today, right? Like we shouldn't just wait around for 2032 before we like make progress. I don't think anyone really thinks that, but yeah, yeah, we will see. We will see what happens. I don't think eating animals entirely will ever go away. I think there's always going to be some people who go out and hunt them and kill them, and it may become like kind of a black market thing. But I do think that it would be reasonable to think that factory farming could end within our lifetimes. That would be what I want. Obviously, I want animal liberation, but I think factory farming, since it represents over 99% of it, that would eliminate all that. Like that's so much. So yeah, I actually do think vegans should lean more into the end factory farming thing. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but the reason I say that is because it's already a popular opinion. Like most meat eaters already agree the factory farming is bad. And they also think that the meat they eat doesn't come from factory farms. So if you talk about a factory farming ban, they'll think, oh, well, that's not even going to affect me. So yeah, I'll sign that. Little do they know that it would get rid of all the meat they eat and they'd have to go vegan anyway. But yeah, I do think that we could realistically end factory farming in our lifetimes, at least in Western countries. Congrats on getting married. Thank you. Yeah, it was an awesome wedding. It was all vegan. So many people came up like, oh, this food is so good. It's the best food I've had at a wedding. So yeah, it was awesome. Natalie, how long has your husband been vegan and where did you meet him? Restaurant, online, speed dating? So he went vegan a month or 2 after I did. So I went vegan and then, I immediately got really into it. I was watching Street Outreach all the time. I was learning everything I could, reading all these books, talking about it. And I also have always done all the cooking for us because I like to cook and he doesn't. And I hate cleaning up and he doesn't mind it. So I always cook, he cleans up. It's a great system, works for us. So I was making the food anyway. So one day I woke up and he said, I watched Dominion. It was horrible. I'm done. And he's been passionate vegan ever since. He's a bit more radical than me, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'm very fortunate that he was open-minded enough to do it. I think that if he hadn't been, I don't know if we would still be together because it's such an important value to me. And I need to be honest with the person that I'm with. And I have a harder time being honest with non-vegans. Where did you meet him? We were both tour guides in the French Quarter. So we met through that. Not online dating or speed dating. I hear online dating is really tough and that it gets even worse every year. So my heart goes out to anyone who's doing online dating. I think meeting in person is good. We were lucky though, we have friends in common and just kind of hit it off. So you never know when you're going to meet the love of your life. Favorite bean. Oh, that's tough. I love beans so much. Probably black beans. Black beans are so good. I love Mexican food. That's generally my favorite cuisine. So yeah, black beans are awesome. Choo, choo, choo. Oh, hey, a Natalie stream. Yes, it is very nice. I'm actually probably going to wrap up pretty soon because I've been going for almost an hour and a half, which is crazy. This is my first stream, you guys. So if you want me to keep streaming, let me know down below. Let me know if this is a good time for you because I was thinking I like the Sunday Scaries idea because a lot of people start to get a little anxious on Sundays because you have to do your work week again. So if I can provide some entertainment to people on Sundays, I think that's great. And I'm definitely going to keep doing these Reddit roundups. I'll probably do some reactions, maybe bring some guests on. But yeah, let me know if you want me to keep streaming, if Sunday is good for you, what time is good for you. I think I may do it like early. I got a late start today because I slept until 1. I got 10 and a half hours of sleep last night, which is awesome. I rarely get that much, but yeah, I needed the sleep. And so then I got up, I did some sprints, and I showered, and then the day had gotten away from me. So ideally it'll probably be from like 4 to 6 or 3 to 5 or something. But yeah, this worked out. Please do more streams. All right, cool. It's cool. We can watch Ed or someone. I was actually thinking about streaming Ed on this stream, but we had so much with Reddit and so many questions, which is awesome. So we didn't really get around to it. But yeah, I've been watching a bunch of Ed this past week because I'm going on tour on Tuesday. And whenever I go on tour, I like to rewatch his old debates because I think he's the best. I know other people have different opinions, but I think Earthling Ed is far and away the best debater. And every time I watch him, I learn something from him. So before I go on tour, I spend days just watching Earthling Ed debates. And yeah, I really just think he's the master. He's so eloquent and he's inspired me to become more eloquent, which is kind of hard. I got this vocabulary app called Word Up and it like gives you words to learn. And I've also been reading poetry. I saw this guy, his name is Joseph Sarr. He talks about being more articulate. And reading poetry out loud is a way to become more articulate. So I've started doing that, which is great. Lewis, Ed is the best. Yes, he is. Vegan Equilibrium. What's up, Nick? How you doing? You need to have an option for people to come on the stream for a few minutes and ask you. Yeah, I'm going to do that eventually. I didn't want anyone to steal my thunder for my first stream, but yeah, I mean, you can come on at some point. I would love to have you on. I'm probably not going to stream next week because I'll be on tour. So I'm definitely not going to stream next week. I won't have any of my equipment with me. So yeah, you already sound articulate. Thank you. I have been working on it. That's part of why I joined Toastmasters a year ago. And I've really been trying to cut out the filler words because that's the biggest problem people have is they say or like. I always say like. It's my biggest filler word because I grew up in the 90s and it's when the California Valley Girl accent was really popular. So I say like all the time. So I'm trying to stop saying that so much and working on being more articulate. And I've also been writing more, which is great. So yeah, a lot of new things going on. Poetry suggestions. I don't really have any. I just go actually Sky Jack Morgan, vegan of course, is a poet. He has a poetry book. I forgot the name of it. He put it on his stream the other day. It was up for what is it, Pulitzer Prize? Is that the thing for poetry? I forget the name. It was up for some award, didn't win, but yeah, very cool. Nick, will you be in Florida next week? No, I can't. I'm going on tour with ASAP in Texas, so I will not be in Florida. Natalie, what do you think about Lucy Munson's style of outreach? I haven't really watched her. I follow her on Instagram, but I've not watched like a full video, so I do not know what to say about that. But maybe I'll watch it. Like, is it good? Is she good? Because I try to learn from everyone from different skill levels. Generally, I watch Ed when I'm watching outreach because he's the best, and why would I watch less than the best? But no, I think I'll check it out if you think it's good. See you in Texas. Are you going to be in Texas? 50? Are you going to come to campus to help us do outreach? Because that would be awesome. We're doing Elwoods. We're doing Hugh Milk. We're doing debates. Going to be awesome. Sounding like Andrew Tate now. No, not Andrew Tate. He is very articulate. Him and Tristan is incredibly articulate. I was impressed with his, verbal athleticism. So yeah, but generally being articulate is better, especially if you want to be a speaker. University of Texas. We're going to University of Northern Texas, the one in Dallas. We're also going to Texas A&M and Sam Houston State University. So yeah, that is the current plan. Any last questions? Because I'm about to leave. So if you got any burning questions, please ask them now because I'm about to leave. I'll do one more Reddit post. When they choose food over you. Oh, this sounds sad. This sounds like a bummer. Been going back and forth with my ex. I love her and I'm willing to be with her even though she's not vegan. That's the first problem. But she can't handle it. She gets annoyed that my diet is restrictive and I can't just eat anything anywhere. I guess she feels like she'll be giving up too much of life by being vegan. I know it's such a bummer that you can't eat babies anymore. So basically, someone has chosen food over me. Just funny to think about. She has said how much she loves me and whatnot. But at the end of the day, she'd rather have Chick-fil-A than be with someone she loves. I don't understand why. Like, if you're happy, if this person is happy to be with a non vegan, then it's weird that she's making that a problem. Sober plus vegan is wild, man. Yeah, that is tough. I've just kind of kept to my social circles over the years, but I guess I need to find other vegan people. It's hard. It's hard to find vegan friends. I have a lot of vegan friends in other cities, but in New Orleans, I really don't have many vegan friends at all. None of my friends, well, some of my friends have gone vegan, but they also moved. So, yeah, it's a bummer. It's hard. The best way to make vegan friends is to get involved in activism. But if your city doesn't have activism, then you can't do that. Um, I need to find other vegan people. Honestly, never experienced a romantic relationship with another vegan, but have dated Omni that were okay with me being vegan. But it's hard to feel understood when they chomp on cows when you're not around. Yeah, I mean, having a vegan partner is amazing. A lot of times people ask, like, oh, should I date non vegans? And I really think that if you're vegan and you don't have a vegan partner, you're missing out. It's awesome. Like every time you go to a new city, you want to try all the vegan food, you have new recipes, you can talk about animal rights. If it's important to you, it's great to have a partner who also shares that with you. So yeah, anyone watching who doesn't date a vegan and never has, I would recommend giving it a try. That being said, don't just date someone because they're vegan, because a lot of vegans are fucking weird. And you know, you don't want to date someone just because they're vegan either. Natalie Fulton, should vegans promote supplements to help new vegans from deficiencies? I've always been pro supplement. I actually, I kind of have like a supplement problem. This has been well before I was vegan. In 2019, I realized I was taking like 15 supplements every day. So I really cut back. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with supplements. If you wanted to avoid supplements, you would not be able to eat most things at the grocery store except for, Whole Foods. Supplements are added to everything. There's fluoride in our water. Just because something is not technically natural doesn't mean it's not good. Like we should be looking to which supplements provide the best health outcomes and then doing that. So that's why I take a lot of vitamin D. I take algae oil. I take a multivitamin just to cover all my bases. And I take vitamin E once a week because for some reason my diet doesn't get enough vitamin E. And I try to take creatine, but I hate it. So a lot of times I don't. But my new goal is to take creatine. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with taking supplements. Do not worry about that. Everyone should take vitamin D and everyone should take B12, including meat eaters. A lot of people have deficiencies and we don't need to do that. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for coming to my first stream. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the questions, you being in the chat. It's been really awesome. I was really nervous to do this, you guys. Like I really well, I've been putting this off for months. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys come in and yeah, look forward to more streams. If you have anything you want me to react to, send it over. You can send it to me on this Reddit account. This might be my streaming Reddit account. It's your mom's vegan butt. Feel free to message me. And yeah, I just really appreciate it. I appreciate y'all supporting me. If you do want to learn how to talk to non-vegans and do street outreach, remember to check out my free vegan outreach starter guide. And if you want to do my newsletter, I'm going to put it in the chat, nataliefulton.substack.com. Yeah, a lot of good stuff on there. So thank you so much for coming. I'll see you not next Sunday, but maybe the Sunday after that, and peace.